Hello and welcome back. In today's video we're going to be checking out the ChilliChump Seedkit plants and see how they're getting on, as well as all my other chili plants, of course. We're going to be looking in on the Mozambican surprise chili, and it actually has a little bit of a surprise for us today, and I'll show that to you as well. We're going to be getting inside the greenhouse and completely clearing it out, giving it a proper scrubbing on the inside, and then I'm going to be reorganizing things in there a little bit because there's a bit of a change that I need to make, which will make sense when I explain it to you a little bit later. Then lastly, I've got to clear out the raised beds, get those ready for my vegetables that I planted in the previous update video. So, bit of a busy weekend. Thankfully, it is a long weekend. It's the bank holiday weekend here in England. We get the Friday and the Monday off as well, so a nice 4-day weekend, which is brilliant, especially when the weather is as glorious as it is today. Anyway, first things first, let's get inside the shed, check on the chilies. The first thing we need to do, I think, is turn off these fans. It is quite warm today, so the fans are going to be on for most of the time that I'm in here. But just to point out, this is the new device that I've built recently. I'm showing you guys how to do this yourself on my second channel, so if you're interested, go have a look over there. And basically this is just got a temperature sensor going into one tent and then a second temperature sensor going into the other tent, which is also monitoring humidity, and it's able to help me control when these fans kick on and off. And there's a third sensor over here as well to just measure the ambient temperature. Anyway, I'm just going to unplug that for now. That's better. So first, let's have a look at the large Mozambican plant. And it certainly is large. So yeah, this thing's a beast. I had to try and figure a way to get this raised even higher. I don't know how I'm going to do this any more than this. Maybe I could clip it directly to the pole up here, I don't know. But at the moment I'm just spreading this out even further and then pulling it tight. But the plant is doing really well. I hope you can see that deep green. It is just doing amazingly. I really could not be happier with this. And the hydro system, again, I will be putting a video out about how this is built as well, including the automation that I'm using. So straight away you can see how this is recovered. Well recovered, it's just shooting off, growing massive. So if you remember from my last update video a couple weeks back, these plants were tiny. There still are a few that are struggling, but for the most part, these guys are doing really well. So I'm just getting inside the tent. So I said there was a bit of a surprise with the Mozambican chili. Well, have a look at that guy. Isn't that pretty awesome? It's a nice shape, so it has actually got the peri-peri shape. It's a little longer, I think, than my peri-peris, but it's going to be interesting to try them side by side, so taste this one as well as my own peri-peri. Anyway, back there we can see there's some lovely growth as well, but not as much growth as we see over here. It is absolutely roasting inside there, and at least there's a bit of a breeze out here, and that's going to help me out because I need to get into the garden now and clear things out ready for us to start planting. I also need to clear out the greenhouse before I can go and clean that out properly. So let me get cracking with that and I'll be right back with you. At this time of year, a question I get asked quite frequently is, when is it time to take my chili plants outdoors? Now that's a difficult question to answer. It really depends on the setup that you have outdoors. It also depends on your climate, where you live, and most importantly, when are your last frost dates? For me, the end of April is when we will have our last frosts. Today is the 11th of April, so obviously I'm a few weeks early and I do this each year. It's a bit of a calculated risk. It's nerve-wracking each time I do it because you get it wrong and you'll lose all your plants. For me, I think the benefits outweigh the risks. So I make a calculated risk. There's certain things that I do to help stave off the frost so that the plants don't die. It's still going to get cold in here, and there are a few days like next week that are in the minuses, so freezing cold temperatures. And I have a few things that I put in place to stop that from really affecting the plants. But like I say, I'm not heating up the greenhouse. I think that's just a massive waste of money. One of the ways I keep away the frost is with a big bucket of water. Black is better. Basically, you're creating a thermal mass, and the black is going to absorb the heat. And during the day, the greenhouse gets to about 30 degrees Celsius, which means that this here is going to get up close to those temperatures as well. And then during the night, when it gets a lot cooler in here, this is going to release that heat, and it should keep the frost at bay. If there are heavier frosts, however, I have down here even more thermal mass. These here are special heating bricks that are used inside storage heaters here in the UK. My brother replaced his storage heater system recently, well actually last year, I shouldn't say recently, and I got all of these bricks from him. That's a lot of thermal mass. These are very dense, about twice as heavy, or maybe even 3 times as heavy as a normal brick. And then just to help it out even more, I have a small heater over here, and I have that heater pointing at the bricks. So at night, this is on a frost setting, which means that if it gets below about 2 or 3 degrees Celsius, then this is going to blast heat at these bricks. Now I don't have this on all the time. I'll only do it if I know that the temperatures are going to dip really low. But most of the time, these here are going to be absorbing more than enough heat during the day to release that at night and keep the frost at bay. I've been growing chilies for many years now, but I still get a buzz when I see a plant as beautiful as this. That is just gorgeous. And this is one of my marugulas. I have a couple that look just as beautiful. Lovely lush green leaves, and the foliage is lovely and thick. This will turn out to be just beautiful. Lovely large plants, and I'm sure I'll get plenty of peppers. Let's have a look at some of the others here. This one over here, for some reason I lost the label. I don't know what happened there. So I've marked that as KN because I think it is. It looks exactly the same as my other KN. I'm guessing it is one, but we'll see when we start getting some peppers. And at the back here, that's a pepperdew. Lovely plant as well. The leaves are just beautiful. Talking about beautiful, look at this Buna Mulata. This is just stunning. Look at these flowers. Absolutely lovely. So there's a few lovely looking plants here. The peri peri grows quite tall in the beginning and then bushes out a bit later on in the season. And some of these others are a little bit small at the moment, but they'll catch up quite quickly. This here is my 7-pot Primo. And I have another 7-pot Primo that's doing a little bit better than that, but I know that this will play catch up in this beautiful sunshine. And the Serrano here as well, quite small, but that too will start growing very, very rapidly. So let's have a look through some of these others. Here's another KN. You can see that that does look very similar to the one that I marked up over here. So I'm pretty confident it is the same plant. Anyway, we have a 7-pot Primo here. This is the one that's looking a little bit healthier than the last one. And again, this will just grow to be a lovely big old plant. The Capsicum Chinense varieties typically do grow just beautiful plants. They have to be one of my favorites. Here's another Capsicum Chinense. This is my Hainan Yellow Lantern. There's another KN at the back there. And let's have a look here. So we've got a few tiddlers, small guys, like this here, the Marugula, but that'll also play catch up. And a Dattel over there that doesn't look too healthy. It looks quite yellow, but I think that maybe it was just stuck in a bit of water for a bit long. I think I might have overwatered that one, but again, that will recover just fine. Over here is a Bendigo or Bendago. And look at these big flowers. There's a pepper back there as well. So that's gonna be an early fruiter. A lot of people go and cut off these peppers. Actually, there's a bigger one over there. But a lot of people will go and cut off these flowers or peppers early on in the season, thinking that it's going to result in a bigger plant. It will, most likely, but it's not going to make as big a difference as you might expect. And I really don't do it. I don't really see the need for it. Here are all my vegetables that are all doing really well. The pumpkins, you can almost see them growing. They just grow so quickly. I've got a few squashes, pumpkins, and my corn over here. Some more pumpkins and squashes. The peas haven't come up yet, but I'm not too worried about that. Peas grow quite quickly once they germinate, and I'm sure those will come up soon. A few more plants over here. Another peri-peri. And the erotica. Another small guy over here, another 7-pot primo. Again, I'm pretty confident that will recover nicely. And there's a few more plants over there. Let's have a look at the ChilliChump Seedkit. So I put them all on this tray here just so we keep them all together. Makes it easier for me to do the updates. I will also keep them together once I put them into their final pots. So when we do the updates on the ChilliChump Seedkit, then at least they're all in one place and you get used to seeing which plants are making the most progress. The biggest one here by far is the Ancho Poblano. That's the beautiful size plant. Really happy with that. And you can actually see it if you look with them all side by side. The next closest is this one over here, the Jalapeno Mammoth. But they're all looking pretty good. They're branching out nicely. They're not just long, thin stalks. So you can see lots of Ys and splits. So that's all good. The Turbo Pube is a cute little plant, but still got a bit of growing to do. And this over here is another Jalapeno Mammoth. It'll also grow quite big, I'm sure. And this over here is the Ahi Crystal, which is rather tiny, but if we have a look, there is another Ahi Crystal. Where is it over here? Well, this one I was showing you. So this one's growing quite lovely, and I'm sure this one will play catch up as well. Just give it a bit of time. So the ChilliChump seed kits are doing well. How are you guys doing? I hope also doing pretty well. The cayenne is a bit of a different type of cayenne than my traditional one, because I did split them out. The ones that I got from the ChilliChump seed kit are those ones, of course. But my other cayenne that I showed you earlier, those are from ones that I kept back from last year. And here are some of my other bigger plants as well. I put them towards the back of the greenhouse because the sun is coming in from behind me right now. And we can see plants like this is just stunning. What is that? The Antepakidoma. Look at that thing. Just beautiful. And here's an interesting one, the purple butcholokia. Again, this one will probably grow quite large. At the moment it's fairly small, but it's a beautiful looking plant, purple leaves. That'll do just nicely. These are the hydro ones. We can see there's quite a few chilies on this one. So these are the Mozambican surprise chilies, and there's quite a few on there. There's 2 over there. I think there are a few more down the side here. I have seen quite a few in here, but about 3 or 4 peppers coming through. I'm interested to see what they're like once they ripen. Compare them to my normal peri-peri, because I'm guessing there are peri-peri or something similar. I'm hoping at least, so we'll see. And over here, this is kind of my hospital section. These are not very healthy looking. I'm sure at least a few of these are going to die, but I'm not giving up on them just yet. I'm just going to put them over here, keep watering them a little bit now and then, and we'll see if we can get them to recover, but not too hopeful with them all. A couple of them, they should be all right, but yeah, the others, not so much. Let's talk about hardening off your plants. Traditionally, when you harden off your plants, you have 2 things that you can do. You can, number 1, shade off your plants. So I could put some shade netting over here, so it limits the amount of sunshine that these plants get, because they're used to being indoors, not getting as direct sun as we're getting right now. That is one way to do it. The other way is to take your plants and put them in the sunshine for half the day and then take them out and put them in the shade for the rest of the day, and gradually increase the amount of time that your plants are in the sun. That is tedious as all hell, and when you're doing as many plants as I'm doing, that is really, really tedious. So I came up with a method a few years ago that I've been doing every year with success, and it's part of my whole process of bringing the plants outdoors much earlier than the last frost date. So I look for a period of time when I know there's going to be at least 2, maybe 3 days of lovely sunshine like we're getting today. And luckily this time it's happened over a weekend, so it means I have some time to do this. I don't have to do it at night time. But you have 2 or 3 days where it's beautiful, glorious sunshine like we have here. The plants are going to get a lot of sunshine. What I need at that point is a few days where it's a little bit cooler. Now, I don't want necessarily to have it as cool as it's going to be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, because that's getting down below 0. But that still is not a problem because it's going to be overcast, which means there's not going to be a lot of sunshine. These plants are going to recover. At the moment, a few of them are going to start drooping a little bit because they're not going to enjoy too much heat at the same time as a lot of light, especially coming out of the nice cozy environment that they had inside my grow tents. I'll make sure I keep them watered, don't let them dry out. At the end of the day, come and look at your plants, feel them, feel how heavy they are, and you can easily feel which ones need some water. The ones that are light, obviously, give them a good saturation. If they're still quite heavy, that one's quite light, but that one there is pretty heavy. So even though it looks on the top, it looks like it's quite dry, the plant itself, the water is probably around about there. It's nicely saturated, so I don't want to overwater it. But the plants that are, or the pots that are quite light, then they definitely need some water, and I'll properly give them a lot of water. So these are 1 litre containers. I'll probably put about 200-300 milliliters of water into it. And that I'll do at the end of the day when I see that there's some plants that may be drooping, things like that. And that should keep your plants healthy. Then when the weather does drop a little bit, like it's going to in the next few days, then the plants have some time to recover. And essentially it's basically hardening them off, but it's a bit of a lazy way of doing it. But it does the job, and I have good results with it. So that for me is how I harden off. Feel free to do it your way. If you want to move your plants inside and outside and put them in the shade and put them in the sun, that's really up to you. If you only have a few plants, then I guess it makes sense, and I probably would do it myself if I only had like 10 plants, but I have 100 plants, so it's just not going to happen. It's just way too much work. You may have noticed that I've shifted things around in the greenhouse. The main difference is the hydroponics bed. I've moved it over to this side of the greenhouse. Last year it was over there. The problem with that is with the hydroponics bed, it tended to result in much quicker growth of my plants. And because the sun comes in from that side, it ended up shading a lot of the plants on this side of the greenhouse. So this year, moving it across here, hopefully that shouldn't happen. I actually was going to not do hydroponics inside the greenhouse this year, and I'll give my reasons for that in a video that's going to come out in the next couple of weeks. I've been working on it the whole of last year, my experience with hydroponics versus soil. Spoiler, I do prefer soil, but I'll get into that in that video, and it hopefully will make more sense. The other change that I made, you can see there's this black pipe that runs along the top here. That is for my automated irrigation. I've actually removed some irrigation T-junctions that were over there because obviously I had my plants going down here and I had drippers like these drippers over here that were coming off it. So I had to shift those across to that side, and you'll see them coming off the T over there, and then there's another one coming off at the end over there. So that's one thing I had to do, but while I was doing that also I was cleaning the tips. The problem with drippers is they can clog up, especially when you're using rainwater. I am not treating my rainwater, I'm only putting fertilizer in them. But all that I do to clean these things out, I have the pressure running so the water is coming through, and the ones that aren't dripping, I just pop this off and let that clear out, make sure there's no gunk inside there, and then you just stick it back on and they should be cleared out. If they're not, then unfortunately you're probably going to have to replace these drippers. These can't really be taken apart to be cleaned. My automation system, I'm not making any significant changes there. There's some things I'm going to change on my dashboard to just make it look a bit better. But other than that, the code itself is still working perfectly fine. It's been going for 3 years now without a problem, without a hitch. So I'm just going to let it carry on doing its job. My time-lapse camera has been set up, so we'll be recording 2020 season, and there'll be a video of that next year. But my 2019 season, that video is almost ready. I'll be releasing that on my next live stream, I think. We have a second camera as well, which is over here, and at the moment it's just checking out these plants for now, but I will be repositioning that onto the ChilliChump Seedkit once we have them in the final pots. And then if you guys want to see live progress of those plants, then you'll be able to go to my website and check out what's going on. Over here we can see 2 of my water butts. I've actually removed them from my water system because of stupid moles. These bricks were set up so that the water butts wouldn't move, but unfortunately they did move because the moles duck underneath them and they just fell over. So I was tired of trying to fix it all the time, and I ended up just removing those water butts and connecting this pipe directly from this water butt to the IBC over there. So essentially we have 220, there's 220 liters out the front of the greenhouse. We have 1,000 liters here, so that's 1,440. We have another 2 water butts over here, so that's 1,880 liters, plus another 1,000 liters over here, so that's 2,880 liters, which should be perfectly fine to do the watering that I need to do inside the greenhouse and the polytunnel. So a bit of a shame, but like I said, I just got frustrated with trying to fix this the whole time. I'd reset this about 4 times now, and every time the bloody moles. If anybody has an idea of how to get rid of moles other than traps, because I have tried traps, please let me know in the comments below, because I am so sick and tired of these moles. They are absolutely ruining my grass. The grass was looking so healthy before the winter came along, but now the moles have just dug up. There's tunnels you can see almost everywhere, and big patches of dirt like this. It's all raised. That there, it's just crazy. I reseated the water butt over here, and underneath it again there was moles. Over here I believe there were moles as well. No, but we have got some worms. I think the other pot that I moved over here, you can see there's mole holes and tunnels that go down here. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, let's have a look inside the polytunnel. I'm getting this set up. I'm going to be doing things a little differently this year than last year, and you can see that I've started down that side. I'm just trying to figure out how best to actually do this, but in the next video you'll see exactly what I'm going to be doing, because that's when I'll be potting up to the final pot sizes and getting plants into their final spaces, both in here and inside the greenhouse. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you've had a fantastic Easter weekend with some glorious sunshine like we've had. I'm very interested to see how your plants have been getting on, so make sure if you do have Instagram that you take a photo and tag me at ChilliChump, and that makes sure I will actually see the photos. And if you are growing the ChilliChump Seedkit, use the hashtag CCSK, and that'll make sure that I know that I'm comparing my plants to the same ones that you're growing. Until the next episode, stay safe and stay spicy. Cheers.